Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the Grandmaster Forex Robot 5.0. And believe it or not, yes, this is actually the 5th version of this tool that we have put out. This is something that's been worked on by myself and a few other people for several years, believe it or not. It's a tool that we've just been continuously improving and working on. And we're really excited to release this newest version, which is again the 5th version that has come out, or the 5th update on the robot. So before I get too far into this video, let me just please remind you that all trading involves a serious amount of risk, and trading, you know, it's not built for everybody. Everyone should know that there is risk involved. No software tool or signals or trading software is going to make you rich, and all of it does involve risk. So please be aware of that, as you should definitely know by now if you've watched my channel for a while. There is no get rich quick schemes or anything like that here. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show you what exactly the Grandmaster Forex Robot is, in case you've never heard of that. It's a tool that we've been working on, and it is very popular among a lot of our members inside of our group, as well as traders that have just been involved in Forex. It's been a really popular product, which is really cool. It basically, we're going to talk about how it works, what it does, and how it trades Forex, the approach it uses. We're going to talk about some examples, and we're going to talk about the actual additions that we've made to the newest version, the 5th version now, compared to the previous versions of the robot. And then we're going to talk a little bit about returns. We're going to talk about the account size you might need, the broker options, things like that, that are also important to figuring out the right tool and settings for you to trade this with. So first things first. There is no magic in trading. There is no get rich quick scheme here. No algo that is just going to automatically, you turn it on and you're just going to be rich. You don't have to do anything. That's not how this goes. It won't do everything for you. And grid trading, which is the software's approach, it's not perfect. Just like all trading. All trading can make you look silly sometimes, and I just want to be transparent about that. Trading is not easy, as you probably know by now. It's a great tool for traders, though, who like grid trading and who are willing to put in some work. So what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to jump over to MT4 and I'm going to show you this thing in action so we can just have a good look at what this tool kind of looks like. All right, guys, so we are here on MetaTrader 4 taking a look at the test robot, or the tester version of the robot. And we're going to take a look at this thing in action here. So I've got this thing pulled up in the strategy tester. This is basically just a way to test the concepts. And I encourage you, when you get a copy of this, to spend plenty of time in this window, play around with things, tweak it, play around with settings, etc. So what I've got here is I've got the S&P 500 pulled up, and that's what we are going to run this short little test in. Now, don't take this as testing results. I'm going to show you some of that in just a moment, but this is just to show what this tool actually looks like in action. So what just happened? Well, we actually just took a trade and ended up closing a profitable trade. Now, this thing has immediately shown us some information here. So it just closed out about $280 in profit just by taking a trade there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this thing go. And what you can see is very quickly, we've got a secondary entry. And I'm going to pause the video again just to show you this. So here is your grid outline. So see down here, you've got all these different levels: by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, right? And these are the points at which the bot will take on a secondary or third or fourth or fifth position. And these positions, I personally, when I run the system, I keep them very, very small. What this allows me to do is it allows me to build a position on something that I have a bullish bias on at several different levels or layers that I'm interested in doing. So right now, what we can see is that we do have a grid distance here of about 1,000 pips. So what I mean by that is that when we're trading the S&P 500, this thing moves quite a bit, right? So this distance would be 1,000 pips. So at that point, if price goes down by another 1,000, it's essentially going to look to enter another trade, right? That's the idea behind the grid. Now, what that does is it actually prints where we are averaged in at. And that's the whole idea behind this software. It is a tool. Basically, you have a bullish bias on something or a bearish bias on something. You set the grid parameters that you would like, and this thing will basically help you average in based on what you tell it to do. So the average open in one case, and then it'll also tell you to take profit theoretically. So let's just let this thing run and see what happens here. So we'll let this thing run for a moment, and you can see again, we took a first trade up here. That one didn't go so well, but the second entry looks to be doing quite well. And you can see that, again, it is looking to, and there it is. It just took profit. So the first trade we took went right into profit and closed out. A lot of times that's what tends to happen when I've been playing around with this thing for the last few years. Usually it's the first trade goes really well, but in some cases it builds a position. And in this case, what happened is we took one trade here, the bot took a second trade here, and it closed both out when we hit a profit. And now you can see at this point, the bot has closed out $570 worth of theoretical trading profits. So we'll just let this thing run for a second. You can kind of see the thing in action. So we are in another buy trade there. It immediately opens a new one upon closing. So we just opened another one. We closed out a profit there, now up $934. And again, I'm running this, by the way. This is a $100,000 theoretical account. It is just pretend, so please don't take this as, oh, you just got to turn it on and make 900 bucks. No, I'm just showing you guys theoretical stuff here just to see the thing in action. So you can see when the trend is up, right? Let's say you have a bullish bias on this and you've been buying this thing. If you set the robot to turn on, you literally just click this button and it will, turn on based on your parameters that you give it. If you're right about the position, this bot, the idea is it basically just opens positions in your favor and builds profitable trades, which is great, especially if you are looking for something to basically, if you're not too worried about entries, but you're more based on, the direction, overall direction. This could be the greatest kind of concept in my view for doing that. So again, bam, we've got another trade. We've been sitting in one here for a little while. And yeah, so you can see it's not doing a whole lot. It's just waiting around. It is basically looking to see, are we going to get another entry should price come down to this point? That would be a point at which we would build into a position. But if it goes up, we'll just close out. And it does seem like it just closed out. Took a little bit of time, but that trade ended up closing out for a profit. And now you can see there it is taking another trade and running up, and we'll see if this one comes down for another one. But again, the idea is the same. It's pretty repetitive, and honestly, it gets pretty boring. So let's actually pause here for a second just to analyze what just happened. So the bot took a trade here. That trade tried for a little while, but ultimately did not go so well. Then the bot just opened a secondary position, looking to see if it can catch a better entry here to average us in. Now, this is not martingale. In this case, I'm not using anything like that. This is just one-to-one trades. So this second trade is actually a 0.01. So we have, or sorry, 0.10. So we have a 0.10 and a 0.10 open. So all the trades are the same size, just adding in. So bringing my average position size down to this point here. So it was up here, we bought in secondary, and that brought the average down to right around here. So if price comes up to that point, we will in that case be at break even. And this was really important to us when we were designing the tool, to be able to see where your average open is visually on the chart. That is very, very important in our view. It can be very convenient and very helpful. So again, looking to see, and there it is. So the first trade closed out and the second trade closed out. Now, one thing to note, this first trade was a loss, right? So this was a loss, this was a win, but the net result was overall profitable because of the lower pricing, the averaging in that this thing was able to do. So at this point, we have closed out $2,343 in theoretical profits. So let's just keep letting it run. And again, it kind of just keeps doing the same old, same old. There it is, just took a second trade. Let's see if we can get a second or a third trade maybe on this one. Nope, gonna close out that one for a profit. Now floating $3,100, and zipperoo, there it goes. That's the best kind of situation, is when it just keeps building positions and just keeps winning little trades. That's the best. So again, just keeps closing them out. Almost $4,000 of theoretical profits, and there it is. We're at 42.79, pretty good. So again, kind of just builds positions. Every once in a while it gets into a little trouble, and that's where occasionally, as a trader for my own style, I personally like to step in every once in a while and take advantage of maybe tweaking the bot if I need to, or closing out positions that I'm not happy with. I actively manage these portfolios when I use them. This is not a set and forget robot. That is not kind of how it's been designed. It's been designed for for people who have a bias to basically build a grid based on the parameters they set. And look at this. This has just been great, 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 great. Lots of good trades here being taken. Now, of course, there are times where the bot gets into trouble, where it takes several trades, things are getting ugly, and it can draw down a little bit. That is certainly going to happen with every trading strategy under the sun. There's nothing that is just print money all the time. But again, at this point, doing pretty well. And one thing I want to show you this, 55 profitable trades and 10 losses. Very high win rate here. 84.62% win rate on this back test here so far. We're also closing out so far $15,000, $16,000 in profits on this theoretical little test. So again, that's the kind of idea that, and there's a situation I just want to pause real quick. Here's a situation when we had the market come down where things got a little bit hairier, right? So you've got one trade, two trades, three trades that, you know, two of them got into kind of an ugly situation. This market kept going down, and so those first entries were not good. Right now, I want to add something, you guys. This is kind of what I meant by actively managing. This thing can be turned on or off anytime you want just by clicking this button when you're in a a demo account or when you're trading with this thing. And the point of doing that is that, let's say that you don't want to buy up here. Let's say that you decide, I actually don't want to turn positions on at this point. You can just turn off the bot. You can just remove any trades that you don't want, and you can look to actually start up the program when you're preferring to buy. So maybe you decided, maybe you didn't want to buy this market when it's up here. Maybe you think for whatever reason within your trading strategy or approach that you are basically not interested in buying. Well, maybe you wait to find a point where you are interested in buying and you turn it on. So in that case, perhaps you were turning it on around here or here or here, right? Something down in the lows, you're looking for a discount. Well, that's actually one of the parameters that we have set, which is this concept here, the pullback entries only. You can turn that on. That's going to be given to you within the manual to read about this tool, but it is something where you can turn it on and set pullback points that you'd be interested. So the idea being you would only enter a trade, the grid would only start after a certain pullback level. So perhaps you're being very patient and you were to enter for the first time here or a pullback here, right? You can actually look to set those things up within your parameters based on what you'd like to set. So again, kind of cool, and the point is to keep it adaptable. And you just watch this thing, it kind of looks like a spider when it's running, which I think is kind of cool. It just kind of just goes all over the place and does all these cool little actions. But again, there is the end of the result, and you can kind of see the graph. It looks pretty clean. Of course, in the interim, it's not always very clean, right? There are points and times where, during this point, it would have been a drawdown period. That would have been not so fun. So, full transparency. Also, this is not good data to test on. I just do it for this so that it is fast, because when we're watching it, if I do the full every tick data, that can be very, very slow. But again, that's the idea. So that's kind of what it looks like in action. Let's head back over to the presentation there. Okay, so we're back on the view, presentation view here, and I wanted to just talk a little bit more about some of the results that we've done in the backtesting. Now, please take backtesting with a grain of salt. The thing about backtesting is, number one, you can find a situation in which anything or any strategy looks perfect or amazing. And that's, of course, something to consider. Also, not to mention with this bot, there are so many different ways to run a grid system. And what results someone gets may be very different from your own if you have a different risk tolerance, etc., which we'll talk about more in just a moment. Now, the backtesting results here on S&P 500 look really pretty clean, right? You've got a beautiful little uptrend. And what you'll see also is that it's kind of hard to see, but if we zoom in on the edit, every tick data was used for this one, which is a more accurate reading or more accurate back test. So kind of cool, looking pretty good there. Now let's go ahead and skip to the next page, and what we can see here is that we've got some interesting information as well here. So in this case, this is kind of an aggressive approach. So the max drawdown here was $419, which is not that bad at all, right? Especially on, this was a $10,000 account. I forgot to mention that, but this is a $10,000 account. And if we're looking at this in terms of winning trades, there's 83%, which we kind of were seeing in the example when we just watched it playing around on the chart. 80% accuracy is pretty dang good. It's, again, the grid system is not based on, perfect entries or anything like that. That's kind of up to you and how you would like to enter the market. But just from a grid system, it's not so bad. In terms of profitable trades, the average, or let's see, what else can we find out here? So the drawdown, very, very slim on this example. Drawdown is very dependent on your risk tolerance and things that you're looking at. So we can keep going. You can see it ended up closing out a gross profit of $2,600 relative to that 419, which I know is not a crazy amount, but this was a back test of 2021. So that's just like 1 year, which is pretty good results on a 10K account. So here's Euro USD. This one's very low risk, right? So I used very small positions on the euro dollar. And this was kind of interesting to me because I personally like to run bots very low risk. I'm not interested in trying to grow accounts quickly. I am very interested in low risk growth on accounts. And which means, you know, my account doesn't grow overnight very quickly, but it grows slowly and steadily. That's kind of my approach with bots. But again, it's up to each person how they would personally like to use systems. Maximum drawdown, only $370. That's not that bad. Nice little, 66.67%. Still very positive on that. And then overall making about $626, which is not bad at all. So again, just kind of depends on, and this is a 2021 backtest as well. Very low drawdown, right? And a consistent, nice little profit there as well. Now, as I've mentioned several times, the bot itself will not do all of the directional bias and perfect entry style stuff for you. That's going to be a little bit dependent on your personal approach and strategy in the markets. But how does it actually work and how does it trade Forex? Well, as we saw in the video, or as we saw in the examples, the bot will take trades in the direction that you personally set it to. So if you have a bullish bias or a bearish bias, you set that in the bot when you're setting it up. A grid, basically, as we saw in the visual, of pending orders will be set as per the parameters that you set for the bot. Additional trades can then be taken by the bot, if set by the user, at designated grid levels, which are fully configurable based on what you would like to do with the bot. You can also set a max drawdown stop out if desired, which is very important and something that we added in the 4.0 version, which is still in this one. If you have a certain tolerance, let's say you have a $10,000 account and you say, I don't want this thing to at any point go any further than $500 lost, you can actually set a stop out. So it is in some ways kind of like a stop loss, but it's just based on your equity kind of situation. So let's say your equity stop out would be $500. At the point that your account is down by $500, it will just close out the trades and start fresh, right? That could be something that you choose to do. That's something completely up to you and based on your risk tolerance and preferences. So there's some new additions that I want to talk about. So again, this is a tool that's been in the works for a long time, and we're really excited to finally be putting it out on the market. This is something we've been working on behind the scenes for a few months now. And so we're going to show you some of the quick new visual, strategic, and management features added to the tool. So new feature number 1, improved UI. That UI is so much better than the previous one in my view. It tells you a lot about the bot, and it allows you to actually, you can use it when you're on the chart. You can like change the grid distance, you can change the directional bias, but at any point you can pause or turn on the EA at any given time. Also, it allows you to see a whole bunch of data about the grid system itself. You can see the historical profit, the number of wins, the number of losses, right? It shows you your risk level, which is computed by the system and tells you kind of generally speaking how risky you're being with the bot, which is very helpful for newer traders or people who are playing around on a demo account and they want to see, what is my risk tolerance if I plug in this lot size or this grid distance, right? It's going to help compute that and just give you an idea of what that risk would be. Again, your risk level, your risk tolerance, completely up to you how you would like to approach it. But you should at least have a general idea of what that is. Next trade distance. Now, the next trade distance allows you to basically see how far until the next grid level will get triggered or entered into, right? So if you're in a buy trade, it tells you how far away you are from entering a new buy trade or a second buy trade or a third, right? So very, very cool. Tells you all about the information, and at any point you can pause and adjust the robot, which is really nice, even on the fly. So just some convenience there. New feature number 2, adjustable parameters. You got a ton of things that you as the driver can set, which is kind of nice. Things like lot size, directional bias, right? So if you have a sell bias, you just change it to sell. You can change it to buy very quickly. You set a target profit. So all of these things, by the way, when you set up the bot, you have all of these to make your own sort of selections about and preferences about. So again, you can set your directional bias, you can set your profit target. If you have a max drawdown in mind, if you have a certain level that you want to stop out of trades at, that's up to you. You can set that in the tool and that that will basically watch for you. Finally, or not finally, but additionally, you have the pullback entries, which we've talked about, and it is explained more in the manual, but basically it's saying, you know, if you only want to start a grid system at a certain pullback point, that is optional, right? You can set that up in the preferences of the bot. It's built in as an optional strategy. And with that, if you do choose to do something like that, then you can actually set the RSI settings that you'd like. For example, maybe you want to use a 7-period RSI, and anything reaching an oversold status of under 30, that's where it will start the grid, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's basically like a strong way to look for entries, but only enter if the market's pulling back. Then you have the grid distance, which you can set completely yourself, right? So if you want to set every 50 pips to enter a new trade, or 100 pips or 150, that's up to you to test in your demo accounts and make a decision about. Number of grid levels. This is kind of cool. So your number of grid levels will, if you have 20 grid levels, for example, that's the default. You can set that to whatever you would like. Let's say you just want to have 5. Let's say you're being more selective and you only want to enter 5 times maximum. That's up to you, right? And then your lot multiplier. This is by standard 1.0. That's kind of how I personally run the tool, but some traders like to do things like 1.5. They like to maybe even do 2. That is for you to play around with and to make your own decision about. It's there, right? The whole point of this is to be flexible. The whole bot is built to be a tool so that you can use it the way you would like to use it. A lot of times you see EAs where they have a very specific, like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this. That's not really what we've done with this tool. This is really truly meant to be a tool for traders to use the way they would like within their own grid trading strategies. It just automates a lot of the concepts. Finally, you get all the color displays, which is really convenient. You can make the tool look however you'd like, which is easiest on your eyes or whatever, settings you just prefer. So yeah, new feature number 3 is grid level visualizations. That's a hard word to say. So it'll actually generate some views. So for example, within the grid system, this is new, right? It shows you visually where it will take all the trades, which is incredibly convenient in my opinion. Generally speaking, where it's going to look to add trades as long as the bot is running. Number 4. The average entry price. So this will tell you basically where you're averaged in at. So if you were to take a trade at 1.12 and another at 1.11, it would show that the average entry would then be at 1.1150, assuming both are the same trade size, right? If both were like 0.01 lots. This is helpful for showing break-even points visually. So as we saw in the visual earlier, let's say you took a trade here. Let's say you took a trade here. So number 1 is here, number 2 is here. Our average would then be shown right here, right between them, right? So just a convenience thing. Finally, you have the profit target approximation. So if you are targeting $20 or so, whatever you are going for, it's going to show you in the form of a take profit. That is roughly speaking where you would at that point the bot would look to close out trades. That's the idea. It's not perfect all the time. The computations can be a little bit tricky based on the different currencies that are being tracked or the markets that are being looked at and the basis of your account, whether you're using dollars, euros, but it's just a loose guide as to where the bot will look to take profit in that general area based on the parameters that you give it in terms of a profit target. New feature number 6, less traceable activity. And this is important for some traders. We actually had this request to be added to the new version of the bot. So the bot basically does internalized calculations for everything. It uses market orders. It does not use limit or stop orders when placing trades. And the reason that kind of be cool is because the tool tracks trading activity internally, utilizes market orders only, which is an advantage here, which means that the tool is less susceptible to a broker manipulating price to whip traders out of a stop loss. I'm not accusing any broker of this. This happens occasionally. Brokers have been found to do this sort of thing. Not all of them, and most likely if you're trading with a safe or regulated broker, that's not going to be an issue. However, if you're concerned about, market makers or brokers that you're using maybe stop hunting you, your stop loss order won't actually be seen because it doesn't use take profits. It doesn't use limit orders. It doesn't use, stop loss, take profit, all that stuff. It uses only market orders. So that can be kind of nice because then if you have a trade, you're not too worried about, your orders just getting hit before it goes back the other way, right? That's kind of the idea behind not using orders, but rather just, doing all the activity internally in the software. Percentage returns. Now, this is a tricky one for everyone. Everybody is always interested. Well, how much can the bot make me for my $1,000 account, right? And the issue here is that this is not an easy answer to give because the robot's returns, because this is a tool, it is not a fully just turn it on and make money bot. It really is dependent on your own parameter settings, the risk tolerance that you personally choose to take, and your personal strategic approach. If you are using fundamentals to short the euro against the dollar, if that's based on your strategy, right? Let's just say that as an example. You might have X results, right? That's going to be dependent on you as the trader, right? The decisions that you make, the settings that you choose, the risk tolerance that you take, that's going to impact your returns. That being said, for me, in my trading, I'm looking for just 1 to 5% per month. That is not, a lot. I know people disagree with me on that. They're like, oh, Nick, you could go for more. But I go for low returns because I like to keep drawdown to a minimum, and I'm just looking to grow my larger accounts at a very slow and steady rate. That's just my personal preference, how I like to approach it. You may do something very different. That's totally fine. Again, there are many traders who are already using this software. It is a very popular tool from our software list. And basically, there's people who have done much better. There are people who, have chosen to go different routes with it. So that's up to you how you choose to use it, and the risk tolerance that you have and all those different settings are going to impact what your returns or lack thereof are based on your settings. So account size, broker, leverage, all that good stuff. So of course, anything that you do, recommends you do it on a demo account first. Test your concepts, make sure you are very, confident in what you're doing. You're proficient with how the tool works, etc. Usually about $500 in an account is a good starting point to play around with. Should you choose to take that live, that is, again, up to you. And based on what you choose to do, $500 could either be too little or adequate. Again, if you go for those high risk, high returns things, which some people do, it's just like trading in general. $500 is probably a decent starting point for a live account just to trade with things like 0.01. Brokers, any broker that accepts EA trading should work with this tool. And then leverage, which is based, again, on your risk tolerance. Whatever you are comfortable with is going to be kind of required. For me, I use on my larger accounts, just 1 to 50 here in the US. And then I do have some overseas brokers that I use that are like 1 to 200 and 1 to 500 based on, if I'm trying to be a little bit more risky with smaller accounts that I'm testing concepts on. Who is this bot for? Very important question. This is really a bot designed for people with a bit more experience who already kind of, they're okay with their trading. They're just looking to take some of the emotions out of it. They're looking for a system to help automate it. And they're looking to try to automate components of their trading, right? Not everything. They're not looking for, just do it all for me. And they're interested in using a grid system, right? Grid systems can be very, very convenient, especially if you are not so interested in worrying about entries all the time and, tight stop loss and all that stuff. If you're not interested in that, if you're just looking to, okay, I'm generally bullish, let me build a small position here. That's the kind of trader that would probably benefit most from using a tool like this. Traders looking for an expert advisor that is user-friendly. This thing is really, really straightforward in terms of the functionality. It's not like a million parameters that you have to configure. It's really just, you play around with it, you spend time back testing with it, and eventually come up with concepts that you're comfortable with. So how do you get the tool? We've talked a whole bunch about it. Here's how you can get it. There's a link down below in the description. You can get it accessed there for a discounted price, and you'll get an easy install guide with the software. So if you'd like a copy, you'll get a bunch with it. So of course you get the tool. You also will get a complete guide on how the software works, some of the FAQ questions, some past examples. Like I've mentioned, this is an old tool. This has just been refurbished. We've been continuously working on this thing for several years now. So you get the latest version, but you'll also get the older versions with it so that you can play around and see how the old versions worked. Maybe you like something better or etc. Right? So with that said, that is how you get it. The link is down below in the description. I would highly encourage you to get the tool. If any of this, if you made it this far, you definitely have gotten some interest in the tool, and I would encourage you to try it out. Again, there's a link down below in the description. You can get it out for a discounted price there. And yeah, so that's how you get it. The next thing I will say is that, bot trading is For people who, a lot of the people that I know that are successful traders, they trade with bots. The reason they trade with bots is because trading with bots is reasonable for the average person, right? The average person who may have a job or they have other things in their life, they're busy and they don't want to sit staring at a chart all day. That's generally who benefits most from robotic trading. So it's something that I personally have done for a long time. It's not record breaking. I'm not making millions off of this. I'm not tripling accounts every couple days. I'm not doing any of that, right? I'm just looking for slow, steady, consistent trading. And I like to trade grid systems because I find them to be, there's ways to incorporate them in my trading in a way that can be very, very convenient, right? It takes away some of the entry pressure, right? You're not trying to just catch the perfect entry all the time, and you're looking to just kind of sit and play out a overall move. Even if it goes against you a little bit, you have very small positions, things like that. So that's kind of my approach to grid trading. I would definitely encourage you, like I said, to check it out, read more about it if you are on the fence about it. And there's no pressure. If you don't want the tool, that's fine. I appreciate you for watching the video anyways, and there is a link down below in the description for you to check it out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Trade safe. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out and contact us at a1trading.com/contact. You can contact a rep, ask your questions there, and we'd be happy to help. Thanks so much, and we'll see you back next time. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching today's video. There are more videos available on our channel here and here, so go ahead and click into that for some more free trading content. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you back next time.